We are preparing to leave behind another year, and guess what? This year, just like the previous, it's been almost impossible to buy a PC at a fairly normal price. And just for situations like these, laptops have become a great alternative for many of us. Maybe this is why ultra-portable models have gained so much popularity and have evolved so rapidly. If you don't believe me now, I shall prove it in this video, because today we're going to talk about one of the best gaming laptops whose performances easily catch up with a desktop. I'm pretty sure what I said will be met with severe backlash, but allow me to salt the wound even more. The laptop is very thin, less than 2 centimeters. Okay, now bear with me. Intel Core i7-11800H, which hides inside of this ROG Zephyrus M16, is one of the most powerful mobile CPUs ever, and it's part of Intel's Tiger Lake lineup. Before we start, let's get some things clear. I have the feeling that whenever we mention the so-called desktop replacements, people keep getting the wrong message. Even though Intel claims the CPU delivers desktop-grade performance, many rush into comparing a laptop Core i7 with its desktop counterpart, often forgetting the fact that a desktop CPU itself costs about $500. And this is where the unrealistic expectations are born. You know, instances in which people really expect an i7-11800H to be on par with the full power of a, let's say, 11700K. Actually, you know what? Fuck it, no more caution. This is why I took on the reckless fun. For this video, I have decided I will compare this mobile variant not to its Core i7 desktop counterpart, but to a Core i9 11900K. You surely wouldn't want to miss this, so stick around and let's get started. I would recommend having a look at the specifications of this Intel Core i7-11800H first. Then we will address its new characteristics and talk about the laptop he powers up as well. Core i7-11800H is an 11th gen CPU, part of the Tiger Lake lineup. It is based on the 10nm superfin architecture, offering 8 cores and 16 threads, with a maximum clock speed of 4.6 GHz. Looks good so far, and I invite you to take a look at the more detailed table over here. The base clock is 2.3 GHz with a TDP of 45 watts, respectively 35 watts when the clock stays at 1.9 GHz. I know some of you might find these numbers relatively unimpressive, but like I said, when the processor encounters heavier tasks, its frequency reaches up to 4.6. 11800H is also aided by its 24 MB of cache, while it's fully compatible with the desktop-grade memory. 128 GB of DDR4 RAM at 3200 MHz dual channel with a bandwidth of 51.2 GB per second. See where I'm going? The CPU also more or less features Intel UHD graphics, aka integrated graphics, which is less relevant for those looking to put this baby to heavy workloads. Now, we are acquainted to its frequency, core count and cache memory. A CPU is not made just of these aspects though. It also includes additional technologies of great importance, and it is obvious Intel were not short of extra features when it comes to the laptop we're dissecting right now. The first thing that caught my eyes was the Thunderbolt 4 port with 40 gigs per second bandwidth, which translates as 4 times the speed of a regular USB 3.1. It doubles as a charging port, also allowing for the use of really fast external storage, connecting two 4K displays or attaching an external graphics card to your Intel Core i7-11800H powered Zephyrus M16. Okay, wired connectivity, check. Let's go into the wireless methods then. Because the 11th gen Intel Core H processors offer Wi-Fi 6E capabilities, this laptop ensures high internet speed and extremely solid signal. And even it hasn't been mass adopted yet, I can safely name this a future-proof edition, which will make your current laptop extremely relevant and trendy in the near future, like in 2-3 years. And if you want to use an Ethernet cable, the integrated chip will offer speeds up to 2.5 GB per second, another future-proof goodie. The CPU offers another new and interesting feature, is the resizable bar support. This tech allows for direct access of the graphics card's GDDR6 memory, so the CPU gets all the info needed. In turn, this leads to better performance in some games. Mind you, however, that this is possible only if the laptop is equipped with an NVIDIA GPU. In addition, the flagship models of Intel's 11th generation, meaning models with HK in their names, offers something noteworthy: overclock. You can adjust this option in the Intel Speed Optimizer and Intel Adaptix apps, but tampering with CPU frequency is quite dangerous, especially since the laptops do not offer the same cooling systems as the desktops feature. Since we're talking about cooling, let's have a look at ROG Zephyrus M16, because a model equipped with such a powerful CPU requires a powerful cooling, a well-designed chassis, and lots of engineering behind the scenes in order to take full advantage of its performance. Fortunately, Zephyrus M16 has them all, and even more. Asus went all in with this release and blessed M16 with an advanced cooling system. It makes use of no less than 6 heat pipes, which receive the heat generated by the CPU and GPU and lead it to the exhaust fans on the laptop's sides. This leads to a significant performance boost I've never seen in other laptops equipped with this CPU. Even more, in contrast to other reviews I've came across on the internet, the benchmark results were better on this model. And the gap is not that small. Fret not, for I will explain this in detail. Core i7-11800H has a gargantuan TDP of 100 watts in full load, which is on par with the desktop CPU. Somehow, Asus managed to cool it, and they did a good job, for this whole process takes place inside a chassis no thicker than 2 centimeters. The laptop weighs only 1.9 kilograms, but it manages to both withstand the CPU's temperatures and fit a 6GB RTX 3060 GPU. Leaving the specifications aside for a moment, let's address the features of this laptop. Firstly, we are talking about a 16-inch display with very thin edges, resulting in a screen-to-body ratio of 94%. It has a 16:10 format, a bit taller than a regular laptop display. The obvious improvement is the resolution, 2560-1600 compared to traditional 2560-1440. Furthermore, to offer a fluid experience, the panel has a 165 Hz refresh rate with a surprising max brightness of 500 nits. Connectivity-wise, it has an RJ45 port, a microphone output, an HDMI port, 3 USB 3.2 ports, and 1 Thunderbolt 4 port. That's a generous and diverse offer for a modern laptop so sleek and thin. If we think about that, most laptops come with a poor selection of 2 Type-C ports at least, and overpriced USB adapters. Now let's get back to the fun stuff, and by that I mean the temperatures and noise stuff. We put the CPU and the graphics card to heavy work in order to paint a picture of the cooling system's efficiency in different scenarios. And by doing so, I've discovered something interesting. But one thing at a time, and let's start off with the CPU. During benchmarks, I noticed the CPU tends to lose its performance as the laptop keeps working for longer and longer in full load. That's not necessarily worrisome because it's a normal behavior. Therefore, the system suite did their best to ensure the laptop offers maximum performance without the CPU reaching or exceeding 90 degrees Celsius. In such tests as Cinebench, the result was 83 degrees after multiple runs. In normal, day-by-day tasks, the cooling system did an honorable job at maintaining an average of 74 degrees Celsius. The greatest diversity can be observed while gaming, because the CPU is used more intensively in some games and less intensively in others. But I felt the need to put it under a stress test as well. Enter Prime 95 and reach throttle pretty quickly. Even in these conditions, the CPU dynamically adjusted itself in order to maintain safe temperatures. Alongside Prime 95, I made use of firmware targeting the GPU. Look and behold, here lies the discovery I mentioned earlier. It's about the way in which the laptop manages and adjusts the power efficiency of its components so as not to exceed a set limit. In the case of Zephyrus M16, the limit is 125 watts. How is this relevant? Well, the moment the CPU and the GPU are put to work, the workload itself is split between the two components in order to ensure maximum performance without overstepping the aforementioned TDP of 125 watts. It's a way of preventing overheating and eventual physical damage the components can be subjected when they are put to extreme stress. The efficiency of the cooling system does, however, attract certain disadvantages, a fault which I found pretty annoying. Even if it does indeed keep the temperature safe, the cooling stuff is really noisy. We've reached 52 decibels in full load as the fans were spinning furiously at 6000 RPM, but even though the noise itself is not that irritating, it can be tiresome after some time. Willy-nilly, that's a price the manufacturer hastily paid in order to achieve good performances at safe temperatures. There is something that bugs me nonetheless, and it makes me question the laptop's durability over time. More explicitly, it's about the exhaustion grills. Unfortunately, they are pushing the heat wave away from the components right in front of the display. In contrast, the keyboard placement is meticulous and well thought. As usual, it can get pretty hot during gaming, but the WSD layout has been placed right over an exhaust fan, and it even has a gap that allows for heat venting. All in all, the temperature on the WSD layout never exceeded 30 degrees Celsius. This applies for the touchpad as well. Yes, it is placed above the battery and SSDs, and it does get a bit hot, around 40 degrees Celsius, but the more you venture into the middle, the cooler it gets. In terms of clock speed, Core i7-11800H fared pretty well. It reached 4.6 GHz for short periods, then it gradually lowered the frequency and reached a stable 4200 MHz, then a lower 3800 MHz, where it remained for quite a while, in fact until the testing session ended. Now let's see the real deal. How powerful really is Intel Core i7-11800H compared to the desktop flagship of the previous generation, Intel Core i9-11900K. We ran a multitude of benchmarking tools and the results were extremely interesting. I could even say that the 11800H dangerously caught up with the performance of a desktop variant. The first test was Cinebench R20 and the results are simply amazing. I cannot stress this enough. We are pitting a laptop CPU against a desktop flagship of the previous generation. During the multi-core test, Core i7-11800H scored 5,149 points, whereas 11900K reached 6,138 points. In plain terms, there's only a 20% difference between them. In single core, the mobile CPU covers even more distance, therefore the results are as follows: 551 points versus 621 points, basically a 13% difference. As long as the Cinebench R20 tests were running, the above values stayed the same. Overall, Intel Core i9-11900K has the upper hand, but again, this is a merely 20% gap. Sadly, the relevance of comparing these two CPUs ends as the benchmarking stuff is complete. I would have liked to see how 11800H fares against the desktop variant in terms of gaming, but this experiment would have forced me to use the same rig. It was pretty much impossible since you cannot force an RTX 3080 into a laptop. Lucky for us, Asus ROG Zephyrus M16 sports an RTX 3060 GPU, so I managed to experiment with some games too. Assassin's Creed Valhalla on ultra high got me 61 FPS, Cyberpunk 2077 on high some respectable 59 FPS. The same Cyberpunk ran with ray tracing on and medium preset at 46 FPS. Last but not least, Red Dead Redemption 2 achieved 64 FPS on high preset and 42 FPS on ultra. The performance is noticeable right from the start, as AC Valhalla, tweaked on maximum graphics and Full HD resolution, ensured gameplay at an average frame rate of 60. As you see, I tested the CPU's capabilities in Cyberpunk 2077 and Red Dead Redemption 2 as well, but on the highest presets it could not really reach 60 FPS. As a result, I tweaked the presets a bit in order to discover what sacrifices a gamer has to make in order to fully enjoy playing on this laptop. The magic number 60 has been scored once the preset has been cranked to high, meaning you're in for a great balance between image quality and performance. Unfortunately, once we switched over to the laptop's native resolution, 2560 to 1600, the aforementioned results dissolve and the RTX 3060 can handle the load by itself. Take that and the rather unusual 16:10 format, and the sum of it won't be of great relevance to many of you out there. But at the end of the day, I've got something to say. See what I did here? Intel has a reputation of making kinda bold claims, but when they said that Core i7-11800H can be compared to a desktop CPU, they technically didn't lie. The experiments above were much more interesting and fun because of the way this mobile CPU managed to be on par with Intel Core i9-11900K. Frankly speaking, I actually compared apples with oranges, but this is a good starting point for assessing the level of performance nonetheless. If we take into consideration the fact that 11800H did such an amazing job in benchmarks and games, then we must agree that the laptop tech has progressed quite nicely during these last 2 years. There are some drawbacks too. The laptop becomes very noisy as it plunges into heavy workloads. And no, you can't actually ignore the noise even if you use headphones. But this entails the idea of compromise. What things the manufacturer had to let go in order to offer such a powerful product? It's crystal clear ROG Zephyrus comes as a high-end model, which focuses on raw power, rather than appeasing the users that demand God knows what fancy quiet toaster making math solving system. You can't expect full power if you can't handle the voice of the storm, you know? I bet you do, because those of you who have grown accustomed to gaming laptops are familiar with a certain level of noise and some hot temperatures. If we look at the bigger picture, that's rather a small sacrifice to be made for such a respectable level of performance. Having said that, I reckon that Intel and Asus managed to offer a tempting device, just as the desktop PCs have become harder and harder to buy due to their ridiculously high price. In situations like this, portable means such as ROG Zephyrus M16 can be viewed as interesting alternatives. Core i7-11800H is indeed powerful, and if you're planning on buying a laptop which includes it, I would suggest looking for a laptop with a more powerful GPU than what Zephyrus M16 has to offer. To be fair, this RTX 3060 is not fit for a CPU like Core i7-11800H, but you must be aware of this. A powerful configuration will not only stress the TDP and cooling further, but it will add to the laptop's thickness as well. This is why M16 can be viewed as the sweet spot when it comes to all these aspects. It's very powerful, well-cooled, it makes use of a strong CPU and a reasonably good GPU, all of these packed into an unexpectedly thin chassis. That's all folks, these were Intel Core i7-11800H and ROG Zephyrus M16. That's all I had to say about them, but I cannot leave you without asking for your thoughts. What would you go for, laptop or desktop? How do you view the relationship between these two at the end of 2021? Do you feel that the laptops managed to catch ground and be on par with the PCs, or do they need more time? Let's turn this into some sort of poll, I say, down here in the comments. In addition, what do you think of Intel Core i7-11800H? It is a hit or a miss? Subscribe to Techniqualities and never forget to game on, whatever suits you best, be it laptop or PC.